Hello everyone, it's Dr. Tina again with Parent Like a Pro, and today I just want to go a little bit into the mindset. I know we were talking something about parental mindset, personal mindset, and how important it is to really have a good one when you are trying to raise a happy child. And I know how a lot of you are worrying, are struggling financially, are struggling with how to manage your time, struggling with how to stop being a parent you don't want to be because you have so many things going on in your mind and struggling and having fears because of things going on in your life, so that you really don't have the time to completely spend with your children the way you want to spend them, and you're having all these excuses why you cannot change, why maybe the way you were brought up and the way your parents were kind of programming you is now kind of forming the way you are living your lives. You try law of attraction and it's not working. Well, I know all this. I've been there, and my today's guest was there as well, but she managed to change all of this. So I'm welcoming Lisa Johnson. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, I'm really good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. So I just really want to empower our viewers with your energy, with your story, with how you managed to do it to become a really best possible parent for your two boys. So just for a start, tell us something about yourself and your story.
Okay, I'll do an abridged version of my story. My story's long.
Okay.
So, I was working in corporate world as a business analyst after having lots of different jobs, never really feeling fulfilled, but decided that's what I was going to do. I could make some money that way. And then I fell pregnant with twins. And I had that idea in my head that I could just carry on afterwards, just do exactly the same. I'd just have two small people there, but everything would be the same. And as we know, that never happens, and your whole world changes when you have children.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to work because of financial reasons when they were 5 months old. Mm-hmm. And so I went back to work, but the kind of job that I had was like 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night. So I never saw them. I was like, this can't be how it should be. Like, it didn't feel right to me. I didn't really know what to do. Mm-hmm. So I decided to just get a really simple 9 to 5 job near my house. So I at least could see them when they woke up and I could see them when they go to bed. And it was just a PA role. So I could do it with my eyes closed. So I did that job and got bored. Like, in the first month, I was tearing my hair out with boredom because I wasn't using my brain. I wasn't using my creativity. So I'd always wanted to start a business. And it'd always been in the back of my head. But where I come from quite a humble, poor background. No one really started businesses. It wasn't really the thing to do. And so I'd never really even considered that I could do it. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, why not just do it on the side while I'm in my 9 to 5 and see what happens? So I did. I started up a wedding planning business. I thought it would be fun. I get to eat cake. I get to do glamorous things.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to start a business, choose something that looks fun, right? So I went into that. And for the first year, we did okay. We got like 13 full planning weddings, but I was being discounted. They weren't my kind of weddings that I wanted to do. I was taking on anything. And it was because I didn't know anything about business. I'd just gone into it without really doing any research. And we worked out that I was earning a pittance at the end of the year from it, like much, much less than I should have been. So at that point, I was in debt. And it was like, do I just quit and do my 9 to 5 and just pay off that debt? Or do I just put some money on a credit card and get a business coach to tell me the business basics? And I'm pretty reckless, so I put the money with the business coach. And she taught me about ideal client and money mindset and confidence and how to not look at everything as failing and how to turn that business around. And 5 months later, we did. We turned it around. We changed some things in the business. And I was fully booked with ideal clients, big budgets for weddings for a year and a half. So it had worked for me. And then what happened is people started coming from the wedding industry and saying, how have you done this? You've been around for like a year. How are you like, we were the top urban wedding planning company in the UK. and still are. And they were like, how are you doing it? So I started teaching them some of the things that I'd been reading and learning from these business coaches, and they started making more money. And then people who weren't in the wedding industry started coming to me. Well, you know, how have you been doing this? So I started teaching them, and they started making more money. And so I was like, there has to be a business in this somewhere. So I'd always wanted to help people, and I'd never really had that talent, you know, that one talent that you can help people with. I just didn't have it. So thought, well, let's try this. Started business coaching, and it just blew up. And that was only just under 2 years ago. So I started coaching, made 6 figures in 6 months, made multi-6 figures in the first year. My husband left his 9-to-5 to take over Carmela Weddings, the wedding company, because I just couldn't do both anymore. Yeah. People were asking me to speak on stages. I was in magazines. It was amazing. And it was because I was completely in alignment with what I was always supposed to do. And all those things I'd done before, all those jobs I'd trained as a lawyer, I'd done all these different things, even the wedding planning, it was all for this. Because all those mistakes I made, all that debt I was in, there was no way I could do what I'm doing now if I hadn't had those bad times, if I hadn't have felt what it feels like to not be able to start this business properly and be so frustrated as a parent. So the last year of the story is that it went well. I got as many one-to-one clients as I wanted, but I still wasn't spending time with the children because I now had this business that was brilliant and had just taken off. And so what I was doing was just working all the time in the business instead. I'd traded my 9-to-5 for a 6 a.m. till 11 o'clock at night business. And so I hit a ceiling and said, well, this can't continue happening. So then I started to learn everything I could about passive income and semi-passive income and what that meant and how that could work for me. And I spent over 100,000 on coaching to be able to learn everything I needed to learn. And it worked. So I then started to make 80% of my income from semi-passive and passive income streams. And now I spend all the time with the children. I work between 9 and 3, 4 days a week. I spend the whole of 9 weeks of the summer traveling around Europe with the kids, and I still make money while I do it, because it can't be that if you're ill or if you need a holiday, you don't get paid. This whole trading time for money thing, it doesn't work. You need a different way. And so now I teach other people how to make passive income.
Amazing. And I really know you have this talent, and you really have this, it is a talent to help other people. As you said, you never knew if you have one. You thought you don't have it. I think you're amazing. And just the way you're presenting the story, I would just love to just take you and tell me all about it. Really, because this is, I think, a dream of all the parents to really have enough finances, they're not struggling financially, in having enough time to really spend with their children. And by that, I mean not being constantly on the phone, not thinking constantly about how are we going to make it through the month, or maybe, things that are happening at work because they're, being really stressful, and you just sometimes come home and just want to rest. And then you had two toddlers at home who just want to play with you. And they want you, but now it's the time that, you just bring them to bed, and it's not about you having the time with them. And this is so important, so empowering and crucial. So what would you say? You said you had this inner feeling, a desire that you really wanted to kind of have a company one day. So how did you come to, to the idea of forming it? How did you know what you want to do and to just try? How did, if you could reverse engineer your, in a way, steps? And as you said, it's so important that we really go the way, just go with the flow, how the life is, or where the life is taking us. But sometimes, we are just, you feel like you're stuck. You want to do something else. You want to change your life, but you don't know how.
And I was there. I get that.
And how did you manage to do it? How did you manage your mind? What were your steps? In a way.
I had to completely change my mindset. So strategy is a really big thing, and most of what I teach is strategy, like the steps of how to get there. But before I could do that, I had to change my mindset because my money mindset was awful. I came from a background where no one earned six figures. No one was able to earn that kind of money. And so without me even knowing it, my subconscious brain was telling me continuously, not you, this isn't for you. The narrative in my head was, this is for other people who come from better backgrounds than you. It's not for you. And I believed that without even knowing I believed it. I knew I'd always wanted an extraordinary life, not the normal life, but I didn't think it was for me to ask that. So I worked with a coach to look at my money story. What was my money story? What were those beliefs that had come through when I was younger, and why? And we all have a money story. We all have this taking in our subconscious of things that we have heard. For instance, who hasn't heard the words, money doesn't grow on trees as we're growing up? Or you don't want to be greedy, you just need to be comfortable, or save money for a rainy day. All of those things were in the back of my head. So every time I tried to put some action out there to start a business or to make more money, my subconscious would just tell me, this isn't for you. So I worked on that by using lots of different techniques, but affirmations to reprogram my mind into believing I can do this. And with me, I'm not so great at using affirmations constantly because I'm very self-aware, and I will tell myself I'm conning myself.
Okay.
You're kidding yourself.
Yeah.
So I have to use logic. I'm a very logical person. So the way to turn it around for me was to look at other people who had done what I wanted to do and kind of say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And now that's exactly what I do with my clients. I tell them, well, if I can do it, you have no excuse, because if I can do it, you can do it. And it gives them that empowerment to be able to go and go, yeah, actually, if Lisa can do it, I definitely can do it. And they do. I'm not special. I'm not different. We all have the power to do whatever we want to do. We just need to change our mindset to get there. So I changed my mindset, and only then was I able to start putting those small things in place. And it doesn't matter if it's, I know how you can feel stuck. I know how you can feel really frustrated that you want to move forward, but you don't even know where to start. And what I would say is do one tiny thing a day. So like the first day, I was like, right, I'm going to do one tiny thing. I'm going to research wedding planners.
Okay.
And what they charge and what services they do. And I did that. And then the next step was like, I'm going to research qualifications because I wanted to get a qualification. And it was like, okay, now I know I can do that. So the next day, how do you actually start a company? What do? Do you, in Companies House, how do you register it? And I looked into that. And every day I just do something small. Within 3 months, you look behind you and you've done things. And there's this fear that puts us off, this fear of, what if it fails? What if I do it wrong? I did do it wrong. It's okay. It's much better to have this imperfect action, to not be worried about failing, because all entrepreneurs fail, every single one at some point. So we've got to get over that. So if you do something and you learn from it, it means the next time you do it, you'll do it right. But if you don't do something until you get it right, you'll never do it. You'll just procrastinate forever, because there's always going to be a reason not to. So yeah, it's just about starting and just deciding to go for it. And I mean, there's this anecdote, I don't know whether it's true or not, but they interviewed, I don't even know who they are, but someone interviewed the top entrepreneurs in the world, like Richard Branson and Alan Sugar, people like this. And there were two traits that they had in common. One was to fail fast. So if you fail, you try something fast, so that if you fail at it, you get back up again and you carry on. And the second was to take big risks quickly. And so all the way through my entrepreneurial journey, I've always tried to do those two things. And they have generally always worked out for me. That's not to say I haven't made mistakes. I've lost tons of money on things. But that doesn't matter to me, because I learn from it every time, and then I make the money back.
Yeah.
Second time I try.
Yeah, amazing. But what about, you said fears and our subconscious beliefs, and we are all aware about that, because it's, lots of coaches, lots of theories are out there how this actually is affecting, and scientifically proven also how this actually in a way is creating our life. But there are, you said, okay, and I decided I'm going to do this. I didn't know how to, how to build a company, what to do. And I started reading, I started I hired a coach, I did this and that. And when I was listening to you, and I know a lot of people who are out there listening to us right now, they're going to say, oh my God, this is so much time. This is so much, I don't have the time. I have so many things that are really non-negotiable. I have to go to work. I have this, I'm working long hours. I'm having children. I'm having, my life, and I don't know where to squeeze all this extra time in, how to manage the time to really get these things, done and work.
Let me tell you some secrets about that. So I had a 9-to-5 job, a wedding business, also then a coaching business, and at the time, 2-year-old twins. And I was going through a divorce, so I was on my own a lot of the time. So I also asked, how can I do this? And then I heard about time blocking. Mm-hmm. So I time block, even to this day, my entire life. So if you have a 9-to-5 job and kids, and the only hour of the day that you have to spend on starting a business is your lunch hour, or is 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. when they may sleep for an hour. And that's how it was for me. They didn't sleep at the same time. So I had like an hour window. Time block that time. Instead of going, well, I'm going to just do stuff in that time. Know exactly what you're going to do in that time that's going to make a difference to your business. And don't do any of the things that aren't going to make a difference to your business, because people will tell you, you need to network, you need to do this and that. And there's so many things that you could be doing. But actually, which are the things that are actually going to start generating you income? They're the things that matter, because they're the things that once you start getting income, you can get people to help you with time things. For instance, the first £800 I made, I booked a cleaner to work for me for the next 6 months, so that I would have another block of time to be able to make more money and to be able to do more things for my business. I then booked childcare. Every time I got money in, I used it to get more time, because I knew that the time was the thing that I didn't have the most of. But at the beginning, I was financially poor. I couldn't do those things. So I had to use the tiny bits of time I have. So now what I do is I time block my whole life. So instead of having a to-do list, because we could write a to-do list all day of the things that you need to do. If you have a to-do list, what happens is you tick off the first few things, and then there's this big load of stuff at the bottom of that list that never gets done. You just put it onto the next day and the next day. And 6 months later, that stuff is still there. And it's probably just as important as the stuff at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. So when you write your business to-do list, time block any hours in a week that you have, whether that's 3 hours on a Saturday when your mum might look after your children. I didn't have that because my parents live really far away. So I'd carve out hour times, and I'd maybe have 4 hours in a whole week I could work on the business. I would take the things that I wanted to work on that week from the list, and I would put them into 2-hour or 1-hour time blocks. And I still do this now. And if I don't get it done, let's say one of them was to write the copy for a new website. Mm-hmm. If I don't get it done in that hour, tough, I stop and I go on to the next thing, because everything's just as important as each other in that week. And then it would just mean that in the next week I carry on with that copy, and I in another time block hour that I have. Because even if you do an hour a week, in 6 months' time, you look back, you've still done quite a lot of things, and definitely more things than if you did nothing at all, because you don't have the time. So when people say I don't have the time, what you actually mean is I'm not prioritizing my business right now over some other things. And that's okay, because that's a choice that we make. But you can never really say you don't have the time, because if you have the time with kids, if you have the time to watch TV, if you have the time to read, if you have the time to sleep, you do have time. You're just prioritizing those things over the business. And that's okay too. It's all about what we're going to prioritize. So for quite a chunk of the first 3 to 6 months of my business, I prioritized the business over maybe an hour playing with the kids. Because yes, we can all feel guilty. We're all going to feel guilty anyway, because when we spend time with the kids, we're going to feel guilty about not doing the business. And when we spend time on the business, we're going to feel guilty about not being with the kids. But what I wanted was any time that I was actually going to be with the kids, I wanted to be with the kids.
Yeah.
Not texting under the table while with the kids. So it was much more important to me to go, well, actually, I'm not going to feel guilty about this. Being a good enough parent is good enough for now. I will be a perfect parent later when I have the time. I'll be a perfect business owner later. For now, doing an hour a day is going to be good enough for me. And that's how I did it, and it worked for me.
And I think this is so perfect. You really don't need to be. There is no need to be perfect. I had a time of my life when I wanted to be a perfect parent. And, knowing all these things about how, child's development and everything, what the child really needs. And I really wanted to to be perfect for her. And then was a friend of mine. She said, you are always any kind of problem doesn't seem a problem for you, because I really do have this. I tend to see the problems as challenges. Yeah. And and it's just about my mindset. I'm turning this around and I say, okay, and it's empowering. It's making me just, on fire. I want to really I want to solve this, and what are the most creative ways I could do it. And this is just the way you choose to think, and you choose to, in a way, present yourself to yourself, not to the world. It's just you who matter. And I really refuse to look at the problems as problems, because, it's always, I always take it as challenges. And all this you said, everything is a challenge, and it is challenge to manage your mind, to manage your mindset and everything. And it really, at one point, one of my friends said, you just stop, and you are so perfect already. You are this positive person. Whenever I would have a problem, I would call you, and you would say, that's not a problem at all. And, how to empower me to look things differently. Everything it looks like it's such an ease with life and all the demands that life brings. Yeah. But just stop being this perfect parent. And I had this, a shift in my mind. Oh my God, I really am. And I began to struggle because of it, because I wanted to do the baby handling right. I wanted to do this right, that right. And I was stressed in the most beautiful time of my life, being on the maternal leave. I was stressed. And in a way, I didn't realize why. And this is just, we are so trying to do everything perfect, be a perfect businesswoman, perfect businessman.
We can't.
Yeah, and you can't do it. And it's just the way it needs to be. Yeah. Because when you stop being perfect, things will happen and you will fail. And out of these failures, and what I love to see, it's just that failures are, in a way, they are just forcing us to turn, to take a turn in our lives. Otherwise we wouldn't because we're feeling so comfortable in a way. Even though we are struggling, we learned how to live with this struggle.
How to cope with it, yeah.
Yeah, we learn how to be, and we kind of learning how to be at ease with these problems, and just kind of, how to overcome them in that way, that we are, okay, this is just happening. But when these failures happen, they just kind of force you to shift directions, to go the other way, to the way and to the lives you always wanted to live. And this is why I really think we need to stop being so perfect and just go with the flow, whatever happens, and listen to ourselves. Because even, I hear a lot of, and my best friend, even when I told her I'm going to do this summit and how much time I'm actually gonna, how much time it's going to take. And she said, but when are you planning to do this? Because you're working, you're being a mom, and she knows how, when I'm with my child, I'm with her, and that's it. And I said, okay, I have 3-4 hours at night before I go to bed. I can wake up an hour early in the morning and I can do things done. And it's never been a problem for me. I'm a morning person, and if waking up at 5 a.m., it's not a problem for me, but this is just how I work. And it's about knowing yourself, what's the best thing to work. Because someone would say, okay, I can go to sleep at 2 a.m. and that's not a problem for me. Okay, then just do it from, midnight to 2 a.m. if you have
best for you.
What's best for you, and really getting to know you. And for me, what I wanted to stress, and I'm hearing that message from what you are saying, is I am doing this. I'm a full-time working mom. I'm having a toddler at home, and I am doing this really when she goes to bed. And I would say I am lacking some sleep, but I don't feel like it, because this is, in a way, my dream come true, living my true sole purpose, doing the summit. I always wanted to help. I always wanted to connect in such a way. And I really think how amazing it is that we are having all these experts who are having their experiences in different fields. And if we would just read so many books, just imagine reading 20 books, how time consuming this can be. But here we are just filtering all this information for all the people, and it's so fulfilling, it's so joyful, because I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it because I want to do it, and because I just enjoy doing it. I'm so passionate about it that I really don't have this feeling of a burden doing it. And I think what's the problem with people when they think they maybe want to do a business or want to do something like others are doing, and they're feeling this pressure of having this burden on them, is because it's really not what they really want.
Yeah, there's a resentment there. If you don't, you have to think about your why all the time. Like, why do you want this? How much do you want this? For me, I really wanted it above many other things that I could have had. And so that would mean I will always prioritize it. And I knew that in the future, it would mean I'd be able to flip it and spend more time with the kids. And now it's paying dividends because I don't have to work all the time. And yet I can make 5 times as much money as I made as a lawyer in corporate world. So I don't have to work all the time, so I can spend more time with them. But you have to be really focused on what you want, because it is about your why. And my why was always, I wanted my kids to have a better life than I had when I was younger. So whenever things got hard, or I was tired, or like you, I was getting up at 5 o'clock every morning, when I thought, oh, this is hard, do I really want this? Think about your why. Do you really want it? Because if you do, that's always going to carry you through. It's always going to be that thing in your head that goes, you know what, it doesn't matter what it takes, I'm getting it.
And you really stop, but what happens to me is I really stop thinking about about my why, because I'm so in alignment with what I want right now that it really isn't a problem, because I'm waking up, making my coffee. I love my coffee. I really need my coffee in the morning and through the day, maybe once or twice. And it really helps me. I just sit down and I start working. And all of a sudden, this, amazing ideas come through. I'm so productive. I don't need to focus. I don't need to, just gain my concentration, because it just happens like this. And this is where and I really want to empower all of people out there who want to change their lives. And they all have. I really think that you all know what you want to do with your lives, in your life, how you want to change. If you want a company, if you want to, build a summit, whatever. It's just, you really need to, when you are in alignment, nothing feels like a problem. And it really doesn't. And sometimes my husband is saying, oh my God, I don't know where you're getting all this energy. I don't know. He's a surgeon, and he is really heart and soul surgeon. He can read books and watch videos of operations and surgeries and different techniques for hours, and thinking how he could do this better, because this is his sole purpose. And the way he doesn't see learning about all different techniques and procedures as a problem, I don't see this a problem, because this is so fulfilling, and
you're passionate about it,
and you're passionate.
You love what you do. Someone once said, once you find what you love and what you're passionate about, you will never work a day again in your life.
And
that's true. Because it never feels like work when you love what you do.
It's so rewarding. No one has to say you are doing a good job. It's just a reward for yourself. You're feeling so good about it. And what I've noticed is how I changed when I'm around my daughter, because I am being so joyful, and I never had a problem being a child and playing with them, and do all kinds of naughty things, because I really think children need to do them, and being really a big child. But now what I see, I smile, I laugh with all my heart. I really can relax, and I really am becoming a better parent because of it.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah. And what's the most dramatic change you've noticed since you went on the path of, in a way, living your soul purpose? And how did you change as a person and as a parent? What were the most dramatic, if you would just, try to point them out, differences?
I think that parenting can seem quite serious. When you're doing something that you love, so you've not got that stress of, Sunday night stress, you don't want to go to work that day. You don't want to go to work the next day. You don't really like your life when you're at work. Once you get rid of that, life is not so serious anymore. So it means you can have fun more. You can feel lighter, and children pick up on that.
Yeah.
They totally take your energy, whatever, even when they're babies, whatever energy you have, they pick up on. So if you're happier, people always say, well, I'm doing this, I'm going to work, and I'm staying in the situation that I don't like for my children. But actually, your children will benefit so much more if you are happy, whether that's, people stay in relationships for the children, people stay in jobs for the children. And I think that as soon as you stop thinking like that and you start doing things for you, your children benefit because you're lighter and you're happier. And if you're happy, they're happy, and they pick up on it. So, yeah, I think for me, it was definitely about doing what I really love doing, made my energy completely different, like always, whether I'm with the kids or not. So they're happier because of it.
Yeah. And I just want to go a little bit back because I just thought of another question I wanted to ask you. Yeah. You said you were going through a divorce when you kind of changed your professional path. And I know there are a lot of people out there who are going to just so enjoy this interview, but they're having one question. And I'm so grateful. I really don't need to think about these things, but I know some people do because I see them on a regular basis and I talk to them and I want to employ them as, being parents of my patients.
Yeah.
What if you happen to know what your soul purpose, your deepest desire is, and you want to change, and you are facing a really tough financial situation at home, and your spouse, your partner, is saying in a way, oh my God, no, there's no way we can afford this. There's no way we can afford, let's say, a business coach. And, are you crazy to just thinking about leaving your jobs? Well, disempowering you of doing this, how to overcome this, how to,
it can be really hard, because I talk about my money mindset. It's not just your own money mindset you have to think about, it's other people's money mindset. And what, if they're in a lack mentality, which I think lots of people are when there's financial difficulties, it can be really hard to persuade someone that this is something you need to do. And ultimately, I'm not one of those people that thinks that, if you're going to listen to your spouse, you're weaker. I don't believe that. I think you need that support. If I didn't have the support of my now husband, there's no way I could do what I do now. So I think it's about having those frank conversations and saying, I am unhappy with where I am now. And I know that means it's going to be a scary time for us and that there's going to be a lot more pressure on you for a while. Yeah. But I believe in me. I want you to believe in me so that when I do start making money and when I do, live my dream and start having money, it's going to be paid dividends on you because I'm going to be a happier wife. And, I'm going to be around the kids more.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to follow whatever your dream is. It can be really difficult, I think, and it's hard to change someone's mindset. And I think that eventually, if you're doing what you need to do and you are hearing negative things about money or negative things, it's hard, but you do need to have that conversation. I remember having this conversation saying, I get that you're worried about money and things at the moment, but for the next 3 months, I don't want to hear it. Like, just respect that I don't want to hear it, because if I hear it, it affects my money mindset, and then I'm not going to go and be able to make more money because I won't believe I can because of all this stuff that I'm hearing. It's the same things like you hear everything at the moment about Brexit and the economy, all this stuff on television. Don't watch it.
Yeah.
Because that's just going into your mind, and then you're going to start thinking, I can't start a business when all these people are fearful about spending money at the moment. we can always give ourselves reasons not to do something. But instead of thinking that way, you're going to need to start thinking, how can I overcome? How can I overcome? How can I overcome? Because you're going to have to overcome a lot.
Yeah.
And so unless you want it enough, don't even start. And that's tough love, you know, because you're going to have to jump some hurdles. But if you do, and you end up doing and having the life that you designed, how good is that? There's nothing better than that. So it's worth all of those things.
Yeah. And it's in a way, I love you so much, I don't care what you think, right? Yeah.
Like, you got to trust in you, though.
Yeah.
If you're waiting for somebody else to give you permission to do things all the time, and even now, when I have clients that they just need me to give them permission to go and do something, you've got to stop waiting for someone to give you permission. You've got to give yourself permission to go and live the life you want to live.
Yeah. And just, you know, taking the first step is the hardest one, just to trust yourself, trust your feeling. But once you do that, it feels so light. It feels so natural. It feels like, you know, this is what you always, because you do how to do it. You've always known that. But it's just the first thing. It's just the first step. It's so difficult and it's so hard. And
we don't trust. We don't trust our own intuition. Yeah. I never used to follow my gut. I used to ignore it all the time. Now that I've started to really trust my own intuition, it's so much easier because we know what we should do all the time. We always know the answer. We just choose to ignore it because we try and tell ourselves that we make decisions based on logic. We never actually do. We make decisions based on emotion and then we justify them with logic. Just like when you want a lovely Mulberry handbag, you'll say, I want that Mulberry handbag. And then you want it because you just want it. It's the emotion in you. But then you'll justify it with, it's going to last longer, it's a good investment, and you'll find reasons to want it. So we need to start trusting that emotion, that intuition, because that's what's important. That's what's going to get us there.
Yeah. And even if you're trusting and then it seems like you're failing at this first step or the second one, you know, wherever the life might take you, after you decide to listen to yourself, I think that in a way it really is something we all can expect, because when you are gathering all this, let's say, positive energy and all this desire to do something, for those who are really into law of attraction and life, you know, life really wants to kind of help you with it. And sometimes you need to fail big, because if I'm also traditional medicine doctor, and there is all about yin and yang. And so if you are building so much yang in that action, in everything, you know, life will always try to balance. And it doesn't mean that you will get nowhere. It will just balance so that you can keep up with this positive energy, keep up with your desire. And sometimes it will look like a failure and it will look like, you know, an obstacle, but it really needs to happen, because
it's never really a failure.
It really isn't. And now, in a way, life is testing you how much you want it and how much you can, you know, perceive it from another perspective. But what really is happening is turning you to the, I would say, fast forward lane to whatever you really desire. And you know,
remember too, if it was easy, if having the life you really want was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
It's saved for those of us that are willing to do the things that most people won't do, are willing to get uncomfortable, are willing to feel fear and still do it, are willing to put ourselves out there and be visible. Remember when you're doing these things that, it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable sometimes. It's going to feel hard sometimes, but that means you're growing. If you're feeling comfortable all the time, you're not learning anything, you're not growing. And you should really want to, because the more you learn, the better you're going to be.
Yeah. And I just thought of one thing just came to my mind is when you are struggling with someone else and someone else's approval of doing things, just ask yourself, you know, what if this person wasn't existing in your life or was dead? I know it's extreme, but, you know, it's sometimes really, our minds really has to go to extremes. If this person wasn't alive anymore or wasn't living with you anymore, would you do it? And if you hear a loud yes, I would do it with no problem because no one would stop me, then just go ahead. because this is the way you really kind of block your mind and block your thoughts about other people, because sometimes we really need to go to the edge and to the extremes to this. I did one meditation with one of my friends, and, you know, having, you know, all sorts of things going on between his ears. And I did, in a way, a meditation of, you know, just imagine what would happen, because in a way he wanted to feel this peace we all kind of carry with us, and meditation really can help you with. And I said, okay, just imagine you're dead. You just died. You don't have no financial problems. You don't have and don't think about how your family is going to live now because you died.
Just think about you.
Just don't think. There's no place in here for other people. No place. So you don't have a daughter. You don't have financial situation. You don't have a wife. What remains? Just focus on what remains. And he said, this is, at first, of course, there's a fear because you're testing your mind. And then he said, oh my God, there is a peace. There's some stillness in there. And so, you see, this is how your mind is tricking you, and how your mind is tricking you to really ask other people's approval for everything. So really, I love to take it to the edge sometimes. You know, Yeah. So just tell me one more thing. Because we are here about parenting, about being a good parent, what's the single most important thing we have to teach our children?
Oh, the value of believing in yourself is the biggest thing by far. I have twins, and one of them really believes in himself, and he's confident walking into a room. And if you tell him something about, like, do you think you can climb that rock? No issue, definitely. And I have another twin that will second guess himself, and the first thing he will think is he won't be able to do it. And I think the value of instilling a belief in them, that they can do anything they want to, and that it's not going to be easy, but they can, is the most important thing. And that's what I try and show my children all the time. Because if you can do that, then as they're growing up, every time they face a challenge, and we've all faced them, instead of thinking, oh, well, I can't do that, they're going to always think they can. And having that attitude, that can-do attitude, is going to make them push through anything. So that would be the most important thing for me.
Is it interesting how you are teaching them the same things and parenting the same way, and they are turning out being completely different? I tell you what,
it's massively shown me this nurture-nature argument. It's definitely like nature. We've brought them up exactly the same way, doing exactly the same thing, and they are like chalk and cheese. Their personalities. So
and you know, it's a bit easier for you. I mean, easier because you're having twins, but I see how people are struggling having age difference, and they are constantly comparing. But you know, the other one is doing this, and I did completely the same thing. Yeah, you can do it with twins too, because we are so different, and we really, and in that way, I really think children are showing us what they need, how to understand, and how to communicate. And before, you were talking about communication with your partner and spouse. I really think we need that communication to our children as well. All the time, asking them. And just the other day, I had an interview, and it was with Elaine Taylor-Klaus, and she said, what helped her understand her child. And I think this is such an important message for everyone, for all the relationships, not just parent to child, also just human being to human being, asking questions, because if we're asking questions, we're limiting our beliefs, we're limiting our minds. So how do you feel? What would you like? Not that we are having all the answers for them, because we obviously don't. So we just need to ask them, and this communication, it's so important for us.
With everybody, like you said, not just with our kids, but with everybody, if we ask. And I've found that with clients even. What do you need? You know, don't assume you always know. Ask.
Yeah, amazing. So just before we go, I have to tell you, I loved this interview. I always, you know, I told you before, I love your energy, the way you're presenting things and how you overcome your struggles, and you're being a living proof of how a rough childhood situation in a way can help you to overcome and start thinking differently, because it was such a tremendous, you know, will in yourself that you don't want to live the same way. You really want the best other things for your children, so that they don't have to, you know, face all these things. And I just love the way you managed your life in a way, so you're creating it. And you've prepared a little something for our viewers, a little special gift, so tell us about it.
So I have for those of you that are wanting to make passive income, so you may be still at work, you can make passive income on the side while still at work, by the way, or you may have your own businesses and you want to like take it up a notch. So I have something that is about the 5 easiest ways to start making passive income. So I'm going to give you the link and you can download that.
Amazing. I love your gift, and I think all of us will definitely go and check this out. So, Lisa, thank you so much for taking your time, for being my precious guest. And thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for following this series. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, if you want to connect, please email me and tell me how I can serve you further. And for now, just bye-bye.